Hello chums, and welcome back to another scintillating GT Woodshop video. And before you say anything, my sincere apologies for the lack of riveting content on the channel. I know it's been over a month since my last video, but chores, life, work, earning money, all of that stuff got in the way, and I just had to deal with that first before I came back to this. But I'm back now, so you can relax, and I'm back with a real quick review on this little beauty. And if you didn't cop what it is from the thumbnail, this is a drill press drill guide, angle precision drill guide I think they call it, made by a company called Enjoywood, sold by Bangood. And you might be surprised by that, because as you know, if you've watched any of my previous videos, I've had a less than satisfactory experience with the Bangood customer service department, in as much as they just stopped responding and refused to do anything. I'll put a link to that video down below. But I thought I'd give this a punt because I needed a drill guide for a job I was doing, and I just could not bring myself to spend the 500 odd quid on the woodpecker drill guide. So I took a punt on this, and this was about 50 quid I believe when I bought it. I'm not going to harp on about packaging and delivery times. The fact that I said Bangood should cover it all really. Delivery was, well, however long it takes. Bangood stuff I've had has arrived in under a week, and other stuff has taken over a month. I think this was a couple of weeks maybe. Packaging wise, well, that's it. It arrived in a cardboard box that was in a bag, and inside, everything's inside of this horrible but really effective foam. And I suppose the most important part of any packaging is, was it damaged when it arrived? No. In which case, it's adequate, isn't it? So, packaging covered off, delivery covered off. So there's quite a few bits to this. But the main component is this. So the chuck actually arrives in this little box, and you pop it in yourself. Now this is not a first impressions review. This is I've used the damn thing out on the job site for a while, and I'm gonna give you my opinion, just my opinion, after having used it in anger. So let's go through the parts that you get. You get some guide rails, extension rails. You get a couple of these little guide bracket. You get a couple of chunky little handles, very handy. A chuck key and a bag of bits. Allen key, couple of all but useless little spanners, and a couple of washers. And you get the book of words that tell you how to put it all together and give you a basic overview of the device itself. So first off, let's just skim through what the various bits are and what they do. It's not going to take that long. So with these rails, you can pop them into the base itself, and you can use one of the supplied little spanners to tighten them up, but honestly I found it didn't need it, and finger tight was good enough. And then these you can use as stops or guides if you want a bit of added support, or if you want an edge guide. So you can use it that way up. You've got an edge guide, you can do repeat drills. You can use it that way up, and so on and so on. You get the idea. You can also pop these in the other face if you want to, and you've got the same thing on the other side. They don't extend into each other. I didn't have a need to do that. They'd be pretty flimsy if you did. The handles I found really, really handy, because I needed to use this on a wall to guarantee I was getting the hole drilled at 90 degrees, and they give you a really solid grasp of the device, especially when you've got a drill on the end of it, because it gets quite top heavy. So I was really pleased with them. Out of the bits in the bag, there's a couple of guide bolts, lugs that go into the bottom, which you can use to find center, which is again really quite handy. And then pop it on your piece of stock, turn it, and you're on center. Now, also on the base, we've got 4 countersunk places so that you can drill this in place. And again, I found that extremely helpful, because when I had it up on the wall, what I wanted to do was to position this, screw it in place, and then attach the drill to it and drill the hole that I needed to do. So far, when I was using it on the job with what I've explained, chuffed to bits, absolutely brilliant. Now, on to the bits I don't like about it. So, number one, I was a bit disappointed to see it's got a keyed chuck and not a keyless chuck. That's not the end of the world, and it's not a massive problem, but it just means you've got to keep the chuck key close to hand, and it also just takes that little bit longer to do it. Time is of the essence nowadays, isn't it? So a keyed chuck would have been better, but not the end of the world. Something that did become a little bit of a frustration is where you attach your drill to it, your electric drill or your battery drill. That's a round shank as opposed to a hex or a square. So unless you get your drill tightened right down on that, that can, and it did slip with me. I was drilling a 250mm deep 14mm hole, and I had to keep re-tightening and backing off because my drill bit slipped on that guide. We've got a depth stop here, really good, needed that. The spring isn't that brilliant. You don't get auto return on it, especially if you've got a drill on it. So it tends to, when you connect a drill, it tends to just drop because of the weight. Now that's not dropped because it's twisted, tilted that little bit, which is the other point I came to. And you'll notice that's quite fiddly to get your hand in there to undo if you've got keyless chuck on the drill that you're using. But the bit that was most disappointing, I suppose is the best word, is the fact that there's a bit of slack between these brass guide bushings here and the vertical rods themselves, which means there's that little bit of twist in it. You can hear that there. It's only a tiny amount, but if you've got a longer drill bit in there, so I'm at the full retraction extension of the device, and I'm now trying to get it exactly where I want it, and you can see the deflection on the bottom there. That's quite a bit. So even with the centering guides and the guide bars and guide plates that you can use, you're still going to have to mark that to make sure that that gets in exactly the right place. And I found what I had to do was to sight the thing without the drill attached, because as just demonstrated, the drill weight isn't directly central, so it can push that over and then you're slightly out. Most of the time that little bit isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, but you know it's there and it kind of plays on your mind a little bit. So you take steps to try and stop that happening. And the job I needed to use this for, I didn't have to use these angle guides. And these are, I think, disappointingly actioned by an Allen key. So yet another tool that you need to have. Maybe that's just me being fussy, but I'd much rather that was a toolless guide. There are stops on it. I don't know if these are accurate angle indicators or not. As I said, I didn't have to use that, but they do seem to locate very well. The numbers are relatively clear. This is the metric version, 15 degrees. There's another locator at 22.5, 30, 45. And 60 being the maximum angle you can take it to. One hell of an angle, isn't it? And then once you've got it where you want, you lock it off with the Allen key. And I was then thinking, I wonder if the handles lock onto that as well. And using the handles to lock, maybe that would make it an awful lot easier. Well, kind of, but the handle itself fouls the numbers, so you're really guessing. I don't like that at all. But the handle does lock it in place, and in fact does a lot better job of locking it than the bolts at the bottom. So that's all the aspects of the drill press I can think of that you really need to know about before you decide to spend your money. And whether it's good value for money or not, that's got to be down to the individual. If you want it to do a specific job, as I do, which was a 90-degree hole, or as close to as I could possibly get for a reasonable amount of money, and have a bit of kit that would do other stuff as well, then for 50 quid, I think that was a bargain considering the price of the other options out there on the market, or at least the ones I found. But there are some frustrations with it. As mentioned, it's a keyed chuck. The chuck connector's round, so there's a possibility of slipping. There's that little bit of slack in the guide itself, so it's possible for it to get deflected. Only a little, but it is possible. And locking in a non-indent location for the angle finder, not the best design in the world. If you can live with that, go for it, worth the money. If not, maybe one of the other options on the market is the one for you. And I'm going to be looking at one of them very, very soon. So don't go away. Stay glued to the channel. And on that, thanks very much indeed for watching, and hope to see you next time, which hopefully won't be long. Ta-ra!